I'm going to talk a little bit about, some goals of mine that I've realized over the last few days, and I'm going to do this while I paint. And as I've mentioned, or as people might have seen on my Instagram page, I am really into drawing or painting florals right now. So I don't have a plan for what I'm doing other than, I guess, just painting some flowers while I talk. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is the fact that I want to turn what I'm talking about right now into a podcast. Excuse me. I'm not really sure what the name of my podcast will be yet, but I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, and Gary Vaynerchuk says everybody who has some kind of business also needs to have a podcast. So you know what? That's what I'm gonna attempt to do. And I'm thinking my podcast will be geared towards entrepreneurship in the art world. And I am really fascinated and obsessed, that's probably a better word, with the desire to license my artwork. And I don't know how to go about doing it. And my goal is to figure out how I can do this. So that, I think, is going to be the main focus of the podcast, is just like different avenues of artwork or licensing artwork, and just like making your art into a business, all the different types of streams of income there are with art. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on. So since I'm considering this the first episode, I guess you could say, I want to talk about something I realized this morning that was pretty mind-blowing. So lately it's only been 3 days, honestly. It's only been 3 days that I've been doing this now, but it's my intention to start getting more in touch with my spirituality and integrating that with my artwork, because part of being an artist is expressing yourself, and I've been having blockages lately, which is why it seems like the only thing I can really paint right now is flowers. But really, I want to get more in touch with the spirituality of my art and figure out a way to express myself spiritually through watercolor or just any painting medium. It doesn't necessarily have to be through watercolor, but that seems to be all that I want to do these days because it's so therapeutic for me. So basically, I just want to be like a vessel of creativity and figure out how to, well, I guess not figure it out, but just allow myself to open up spiritually and get more in touch with why I fell in love with Judaism in the first place. So what I've been doing as part of my morning routine is actually every morning after my son goes to dawn, I'm feeling go upstairs and I read a little bit about it. Just improves my focus. The Jewish way of praying really opens up my heart. Davening. So, and I basically, since my son has been born, I read about it. It opens deeply, I guess, my heart and my mind more. Davening or really doing much with my spirituality. And now that my son is going to be turning 3 in a few days, for whatever reason, I just feel like it's the right time to finally start focusing on that more. And anyway, today I just want to share a little bit of what I experienced, because I had a bit of an epiphany, and I think this could help people who not even are trying to be artists necessarily, but maybe somebody who you want something really bad. Like, everybody has a desire, and if you figure out why you desire something so badly, it might unblock you from reasons why you can't necessarily achieve those desires. So basically what happened was, after I read a little bit about davening, I started journaling, and this is part of like my spiritual practice too, is to just kind of like journal whatever comes to mind after I read this book on prayer, and what I ended up writing was about questioning why is it that I have this obsession with wanting to license my artwork. My husband's watching me. So why is it that I have this obsession with wanting to license my artwork so badly? Why do I want my artwork to be in Target, Papyrus, all of these big name brands that I've shopped at and that I love? And I went on this like very deep journey with it. Basically, it came to the conclusion that I want to be noticed. And this goes so far back into like 20 years ago when I was 9 years old, and I had a really close friend, and I guess I'll just be very candid here and talk about the experiences of my insecurities. But I had a really good friend whose mother would always praise her and speak so highly of her, and in a way like brag about her, which is so nice. Like, it's sweet that she did that. And I always felt like, wait a second, my mom would never do that. And I remember asking my mom, like, why don't you do that with me too? And my mom would say, I don't know, she didn't think it was like necessary or appropriate, or my mom was a super humble person. And I really am so grateful that she didn't do that with me now, looking back on it, because I don't know, I don't think she probably wanted to keep my self-esteem in check, like in the sense that I wouldn't get a big head, or she just probably was trying to keep me grounded and humble. So I'm really grateful that she did that, because I can understand and appreciate it now. But at the time, I think it made me feel like not so important and not very worthy in a way. And it wasn't just with my mom. Like, I remember specifically one time my friend and I were at this painting place, and I was painting and she was painting, and then people would come in the shop, and we were kids, we were only 9 years old, but they would come into the shop, and I just felt like they would always look at her painting and, you know, acknowledge, wow, your painting looks so great, and then they would just brush over me, and I just felt really unnoticed and like I didn't matter. So and it probably wasn't even like that. They probably said something nice about my stuff too, but I just felt like so inadequate in that period of my life. And I realized today, while I was journaling, about what is the reason why I want to be licensed so badly with these big brands, is because I want to feel noticed. There's a part of my inner child that hasn't been healed in that sense, and I just want to feel, it sounds really pathetic, but it's the truth, I just want to feel like recognized and noticed. And I think, I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Like, I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, maybe not with artwork necessarily, but in other aspects of life. Like, you want to be recognized and noticed. And I realized by not feeling noticed, it also like manifests in other areas of my life, like why I get so enraged when I feel like people don't listen to me, or like they're ignoring me. It makes me feel like I don't matter. And it's because of this part of my inner child that just hasn't been healed yet. So that was a really big step for me in realizing that I am approaching this journey of wanting to be a licensed artist in the entirely wrong way. Because if I'm coming at it from this kind of a background where it's like desperation of me wanting to feel accepted and like I'm good enough to have my artwork licensed because I want to feel acceptance from these big brand stores, like I'm good enough to be licensed, then that is completely not a healthy way to look at it. So right now I'm figuring out how to heal that part of myself, and I've been doing like a lot of inner work over the last year I mean, really several years, but over the last year I've taken it more seriously and like listened to a lot of self-help videos and various information on this kind of stuff. And one of the things that really resonated with me was the fact that you need to feel whole and complete as you are right now, whether or not you basically achieve whatever it is you desire. Like, let's say you want to be a millionaire. First of all, you need to figure out, like what I did today is, what exactly is driving me to want to be a millionaire? Why does that matter to me? What is it that I'm trying to accomplish by being a millionaire? What emotion needs to be fulfilled? And then once you figure out that emotion, like the deepest underlying emotion, and you are super honest with yourself, then you can start to move forward and realize what's blocking you from actually achieving that. So I learned a lot about myself today, this morning, just by taking some time to reflect and want to feel whole and complete without needing approval from these big brands. It's kind of like sitting at the popular table in high school, or like feeling, which is funny because I never cared about that in high school. So weird. But that's kind of how I perceive it now with like getting accepted from these brands. It's like, oh, you're good enough for us to license your artwork. But that's not necessarily the case. I want this podcast to help people figure out their reason why they want to license their artwork and how, and do it from like a healthy point of view, or do it from a healthier intention instead of a place of fear and lack and need to have our artwork distributed for major brands. I just always had this dream. Ever since I was a kid, I would walk into Target and I would see the cards from Pyrus and be just in awe of how beautiful they were. And I remember when I was a kid, I would always make these greeting cards for birthdays. Like, I would hand draw them. My parents always told me how much it meant to them, that I would take the time to make these little greeting cards and stuff. And at one point, I really wanted to have my own greeting card business, and who knows, maybe one day I will, because I love stationery and paper so much, and design. It's the best. But maybe one day it'll evolve into something bigger than just wanting to license my artwork, because I am a dreamer. I have big goals for myself, and now it's just a matter of figuring out how to make them come into fruition, while at the same time having a healthy sense of worth and knowing that I don't need to have my artwork displayed just to feel worthy. Like, I can just know that art makes me feel good on its own without other people commending me for it to like satisfy or heal that part of me that needs to hear it. Oh, so that's what I was going to say. Once you figure out the reason why you want something, like why you're desiring something, what emotion that's going to fulfill, then you have to reflect on all the areas of your life that you already feel like that. So for instance, I feel like I'm noticed from my husband. He always makes me feel like he notices me, and he makes me feel, thank God, he makes me feel very good about myself, and I don't take it for granted. He's amazing. I'm very, very fortunate. So I have to reflect on those emotions and those periods of my life where, or just those daily occurrences where he makes me feel like I'm noticed. And the more you reflect on those emotions that are in your life, maybe not in the areas where you want them to be, like if you're looking for a relationship and you would just, the reason why you want a relationship so bad is because you want to feel loved, maybe it's not so black and white, like I'm not in a relationship so I can't feel loved. Maybe it's you reflecting on self-love and self-worth first, and then you'll be able to start to feel love for another person. Basically, you just have to look in areas of your life where you already feel that way. And it might not necessarily be in the exact way you want it yet, but yeah. Okay, so this is the premise of the podcast, of figuring out art licensing, or it might evolve into something bigger than that. Like, it might evolve into figuring out different revenues that being an artist can provide for you, like online courses, or just making art into an actual business and getting rid of the stereotype of starving artistry. Okay, so thanks for listening, and I don't know when I'll be on here next, but this was the first episode, and it's really rough, and I'm going to figure out how to make it more professional, but I'm not going to judge myself for how it sounds like right now, because the message was more important for me to get out than the delivery. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye! I'm a go-getter. I hope this was still recording.